Although job growth was strong in June, the unemployment rate ticked up. Let's start off by looking at the numbers. Hello, this is Bruce Steinberg of SteinbergEmploymentResearch.com reviewing June 2021 U.S. employment trends and developments. The unemployment rate marginally increased to 5.9% in June. The labor force expanded by 151,000, but there were 18,000 fewer employed persons and 168,000 more unemployed persons. The workforce participation rate was unchanged at 61.6%, while the employment to population ratio was also unchanged at 58. Those considered as not in the labor force declined by 22,000. But here is something very interesting. Despite an increase in the unemployment rate, overall job growth was relatively strong with a reported increase of 850,000. The private goods producing sector added 20,000 jobs in June after increasing by a similar 19,000 in May. Manufacturing continued to improve, but slow, with an increase of 15,000 in June compared to the 39,000 gain in May. The construction sector continued to downsize with a decline of 7,000 in June that followed a 22,000 decrease in May as well as a 9,000 contraction in April. Mining and logging experienced an uncharacteristically large increase with a 12,000 job gain in June after adding 2,000 jobs in May and 3,000 jobs in April. Support activities for mining was the major driver for the June job growth with a gain of 9,700 jobs. The volume continued to increase in the private service providing sector that added jobs to the tune of 642,000 in June after adding 497,000 jobs in May. A year ago, the chorus increased by 4,302,000 jobs. The retail trade sector ran up little more than 67,000 more jobs in June after adding almost 27,000 in May. By the way, May initially reported a decline of 5,800 jobs in the previous data release. The professional and business services sector doubled its hiring with 72,000 more jobs in June compared to the 36,000 it added in May. Computer systems design and related services was essentially flat with a marginal decrease of only 100 jobs in June after adding 2,500 jobs in May that was initially reported last month as a decline of 600. The entire private education and health services sector added almost 60,000 jobs in June, with about a third of that growth in healthcare and social assistance. Home healthcare services took a step back with a decline of 3,300 jobs in June after adding almost 5,000 in May. The leisure and hospitality sector continued to spring into summer with the addition of 343,000 jobs in June after adding 306,000 jobs in May and another 328,000 jobs in April. The total number of government jobs was up 188,000 in June. The federal government was down a total of 5,000 jobs, and that includes a 3,300 job reduction at the Postal Service. State government was up a total of 69,000, and local government was up 124,000, both driven by increases in public education. Temporary help services finally experienced some solid growth with an increase of 33,000 in June that brings the total number of temporary help service jobs to 2,666,300, which works out to a 1.3% sequential increase. May initially reported growth of 4,400 jobs last month, but that was revised to the current data release with a decline of 6,500 jobs. Despite the ongoing recruiting problems and the skills mismatch, it remains encouraging to see that the sector is up 24.2% with almost 520,000 more jobs year over year. In June 2021, temporary help services market share, that is its portion of all jobs, was 1.8293%, up from 1.8172 the previous month. A year ago, in June 2020, it was 1.5577%, and 2 years ago, in June 2019, it was 1.9542%. It does seem like a contradiction, with a fairly strong increase in the number of jobs, that the unemployment rate and its underlying components were so weak. But these data come from completely different sources and surveys that measure much different aspects of the jobs and employment economy. The question remains, as the rich unemployment benefits expires, how quickly will those returning to the labor force be able to find jobs? In June, apparently, many returned to the workforce, but since not all of them could secure a job immediately, the unemployment rate bumped up. This has been Bruce Steinberg, and this is a brief sample of the employment data and analysis we provide.